Following video will show how the iBook project was compiled. First, I'll show you how I used iAuthor to edit and format the book. Pulling up the program, it's already been done, but you can see that in the very beginning you are able to edit the book title and insert an image. And at this point you're able to insert a multimedia introduction if you'd like, and I chose one that introduced the topic. Additionally, you can have a table of contents and also insert a glossary of terms that would be important for the reader to understand in the book, and these will be directly linked in the book as a text, and I can show you how I do that. You can also have related terms associated with each word. The first page of this is just an introduction to the topic, and as you can see, this is the general layout of the iBook in its edited format. You can highlight text and you can edit and insert text as you see fit. As I had mentioned, you can highlight particular words in the document and associate with them a glossary term that you can have the reader click while reading so that they can have a definition. It's as simple as just highlighting the word, right-clicking and assigning it to the glossary, and then you can input a custom definition for that word. Moving along, you can see as we scroll through the text, you're able to see the general layout of the book. All these items can be resized easily by just selecting it, grabbing the corner, and then manipulating it as you would like to have viewed in the document. And these are all custom animations, which I will get into in just a moment. Inserting these animations, or what the program calls widgets, is simply just clicking the icon at top and then selecting the type of widget that you would like to implement. In this case, it is an animated image, and to insert an animated image, you first would click the icon for the animated image, and then you would drag an image to its location just by going to wherever you have that image stored. You can resize this image, and what we'd like to do is have something that the user could click on so that it would zoom in and provide a further explanation. You see that you can grab the anchor and direct it to a point of interest, at which you can then insert text that would further explain that part of the image. And you can adjust this as you see fit so that the user will see a particular screen size, and this is where you would set the view for what the user would see, and you can, in this case, I'll zoom in so they could focus on that angle in the image. And then I'll click off of it so I can see what the image looks like from above, and again showing that just by clicking that tab it will zoom me in to that point of interest. I'll delete this, and I will insert another widget, which in this case will be we'll talk about the quiz. You can insert a quiz for the user to take to demonstrate understanding. You would give this a title, and then you can simply just edit this text to reflect whatever the question is that you would like to ask. Providing answers is as simple as just highlighting the predetermined text and providing the answer. Whatever the arrow, rather the check mark is clicked, that will indicate the correct answers so that the program will know that when it makes it. And if you'd like to select more than one choice or only one choice, which wouldn't make sense, but you essentially have an unlimited choice of the number of answers you can provide. There are other types of questions that you can ask in this quiz. For example, if you would like the user to indicate particular items on an image and to demonstrate their understanding of that location on the image, then you would have a label question. The label question, essentially, you drag in an image as shown, and each one of these labels, and you can have multiple labels, more than 1, 2, 3, as many as you'd like, and you would then drag the label to a particular location on the image, and then you can give that label a name. Now, the student will have labels at the bottom of the pane, which they will then drag to the appropriate location, and by checking your answer, then the user will see if they're correct or not. The last type of widget that I will implement into this. Seems simple at first, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, is the HTML widget, which essentially is the animations that you can insert into your project. And in this case, you can go to the widget location that shows the animation, and then you can drag that animation into the spot that you would like. And again, you can resize this if you would like it to take up only a certain portion of the page or less. That is your option. But you can edit the animation while you're in the author program, just to see how the animation would flow and if there's anything that you would like to change. But if you're all set, you can keep it. And that's pretty much the overview of the authoring program for the book. Moving along, I'm going to show you how I used an iDraw application on the iPad in order to form my custom images. Opening the program, I will select a background that is predetermined. It's one of the sample backgrounds that they offer. And then I'm just going to start drawing in shapes. In this case, I'd like to draw an image of the sun and its relative position to the earth. So I can just select on the left side the shape tools, and I will change the fill of the shape. This is all in real time, and the dots on the image you can see is where I use my fingers to zoom in or rotate the image. Just grabbing a stylus, you can quickly draw an image on, in this case, the earth. So I'll just draw a very rough picture of the continent of Africa. And again, just adjusting the fill is as simple as choosing the icon at the left to change whatever color I would like it to be. This goes by pretty quick. Again, this is just a rough drawing, but we'll move it along. And you can see that you can zoom in on the image in order to provide greater detail. But in this case, I'll just pop in a North Pole so we can have some idea of orientation. And I'll change the line color to red so that it stands out. But of course, the earth is tilted at an angle, and to indicate that, what I'll do is I'll highlight this image, and in the options pane at top, I will just change the angle of tilt for this image. And clicking off, this is pretty much what I would like to insert into my animation. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the beginning, and I will send this to myself as a JPEG that I will later implement into my animations. You can include the background or you could not, depending on if you want to just have a clear image or if you'd actually like that background. And I'd like the background for this purpose. It's as simple as just entering in my email. The entire animation image project is then emailed to me. We'll move along now to the program that I use to animate the animations. It is called Adobe Edge. Starting from blank, we have what is called a stage area, and this is where you'd be inserting all of your image properties. I don't have any images in this project yet, so I will import them, and I will add them to my libraries. You can see them compiling on the right, and it will throw all of them on my stage at one time in the very beginning, but I'd like to start with a clean stage, and so I'll delete all those. But now I have them at my disposal on the right. We'll do a very simple demonstration here where I'll just drag in an image, and this is what I will call my stage image. It'll be the image that will predominantly be in the background. In this case, we have sun rays that are entering above the well in Syene. And I'd like to have an arrow animate into this image to demonstrate the path of the sunlight as it were entering overhead in Syene. In order to do this, I first need to have, you can see down here we have a timeline of events, and I'd like both of these images to start at the 0 spot for the timeline. But my stage image I want to have stay still, but this arrow I want it to animate from the left to the right. So what I'll do is I will choose the starting position and then the final position, and I will change its opacity so that as it animates across the screen, it will become more opaque as it moves to its new position. And I can indicate its position on the side. And you can see as I slide back and forth on the timeline how this animation changes. what I'd like to do is, in this case, for this example, is to insert a text object so that I can have some text that goes along with the animation. And you can see that entering text is simple. At this point in the timeline, I want the text to appear, so that's why I'll have it start at this point in the timeline. Though I'd like to have a smooth transition, so what I'll do is, once the arrow has come into its final position, I will start the initial opacity for my text to be 0 so that it's not seen, and then I'll move my timeline down later, and I will increase the opacity so that from this time position on the where it started to where it ends, you can see that there's a smooth transition of the text. And then I'd like to have a third arrow enter in to the screen. So to do that, I will just first click the initial location properties of the arrow that I want to have slide in, and then I will move the timeline down to where I want it to end up, and the program will recognize the initial and final conditions for that arrow. And you can see that the project, if I were to slide the timeline from this final position to the beginning, will show from the very beginning the first arrow coming in, the text turning on, and then going out as the second arrow comes in. And it can be all one smooth transition. You can view this previewed in your browser, and you see that as the animation goes, it's very quick. And what you want is for the user to be able to click on the screen at their control so they can control the steps that each image enters or animates. So what I'll do up here at the top in my element properties is I will program this for the animation to at the very beginning, start once it has been clicked. So I will program it to start on a click, and then at each segment after that where I want the animation to pause, I will put in what is called a trigger. You can see I have it down there. There's a little indication on the timeline, and I will put another trigger here for it to stop, and you can see the indication there on my timeline. And then I want another trigger at this point for it to stop. And so again, I insert a stop trigger, and then the animation itself will play out afterward. And now when you view it in the preview browser, you can see that every click will bring in the new step as the user controls the flow of the animation. And from this point, if I want to publish it, I will go into my publishing settings because I want to make a final project that I can put into my iBook. And I will choose the iBook option, and I will choose where I will save this project. So I'll save it with the rest of my iBook widgets, and I will give it a name. And after giving it a name, I want to give it an image that will be the default image that the user sees inside the iBook so that it gives them an indication of what the animation is going to be about. So it's just a sample image that will represent it. And I will save this. Opening up the overall project. So this is the finalized project, and you can see all the elements that are involved in this as I slide back and forth. It's pretty much just a straightforward timeline with individual triggers that tells it when to stop. And this is the entire animation rather that I would like to have inserted into my iBook. You can see it plays very quickly, but I've put in the triggers to stop it so the user has control. I'll publish this, and then once it's published, I want to insert it into my iBook application, and I will do that by, I'll just delete this one. We'll start a new widget so I can show you how the widget is brought into the program. You see here it is blank. And then, as I've shown before, it is as simple as just going to the widget location and dragging and dropping it in. But certainly, a significant amount of work went into to bring it to that point. That is pretty much the compilation of the project and the overview of how all the components come together. This is Brian Fleming for the Math 503 project. Thank you.